Today's video is all about adding a rustic look to the cardboard niche that I have completed in my previous video. You will be watching every single step I followed while making my cardboard niche look fancier. All the steps are really easy to follow. Moreover, the total cost is surprisingly low. So, grab your scraps, sparkle your imagination, and let's ReCraft together. Previously on the ReCraft channel, you saw how I built my cardboard niche and what it cost. Now, it's time for the fun part. From the very first moment I started making this cardboard niche, I had a certain style in my mind, even though I couldn't quite picture it clearly. So I began exploring and searching until I could finally bring that vision into focus. And here comes my cheeky utility knife stepping onto the stage and ready to get to work. Of course, the other stars of this project are my scrap cardboard pieces, ready to be turned into something amazing. I started by cutting the cardboard into pieces and filling the gaps between the niche and the wall. Some areas needed a little extra cardboard, so I did whatever was necessary to make everything fit just right. I repeated the same process on all four sides of the project. On one hand, I'm recycling and doing my part to help the planet, and on the other, I'm creating something truly unique and stylish. That mix of creativity and sustainability keeps me motivated and excited to keep going. Now I'm sticking plaster mesh over the gaps. This will hide the cardboard and help everything come together as one solid wall once the plaster is on. This project introduced me to new materials like satin plaster and mesh, and I absolutely loved how the mesh performed. It's so handy and easy to work with. I already have a bunch of ideas for future projects using this little cutie, and I'm so glad I found it just by a coincidence. Do you remember from previous video how and where I found it? The right side of the niche turned out to be the most challenging part of the whole project. It seriously made me question life for a moment. Let's make some plaster again. As you can see, I'm using a reused bucket, a jug of water, and satin plaster, the main character of the story. I also grabbed an allspice container to use as a measuring cup, a mixer borrowed straight from my kitchen, and a few little silicone spatulas. Simple tools, big transformation. Before adding the plaster, it's important to pour the water into the bucket first. This way, the plaster dissolves much more easily and mixes smoothly. Add the plaster little by little while mixing, and you will quickly get a feel for the right consistency. Sometimes you need it thick, and the other times more runny. For a runnier mix, just add water. For a thicker one, add more plaster. Easy to remember and easy to adjust. This time, I grabbed a pair of gloves to protect my hands. Much happier hands, much happier me. I also bought some stainless steel spatulas. Let's see how long they manage to stay shiny. Here is how the plaster spreads beautifully everywhere with the help of the mesh. Applying it onto the surface, is surprisingly calming. During this process, I actually built a brand new skill, plastering with spatulas. It feels a bit like painting with a brush, but for rough, uneven surfaces, the key is knowing how to angle your wrist and tool. Through trial and error, I found my own rhythm, and trust me, you can find yours too. Now comes the part where I truly enjoy myself. I'm blending everything together so it looks like one solid wall. I'm not aiming for perfection here, because this piece is meant to feel handmade and ancient. This project is all about the perfection of imperfections. I think it's pointless to say that I drink lots of coffee during the process. If you want to feel truly proud of yourself, create something with your own hands. Now I can finally go home and collapse right after my front door. Mission accomplished. Here I'm having a love affair with the scrap foam. Today I'm gonna work with them. Utility knife, felt tip marker, an ancient tailor's measure, and a ruler. Scrap foam. Very simple tools, endless possibilities. I measured the foam roughly and started to cut. I'm getting my little decorative stones ready. Do you know how to collect those little foam particles while cleaning? Please write in the comments if you know, because I really don't have any idea about it. A tiny speck of foam is enjoying itself in the middle of my coffee. Here is another bucket of plaster, which is runnier than the previous one. Just look at this tripod. It's completely covered in white. Creative chaos at its finest. If you're planning to work with satin plaster, be ready for dust everywhere, even in your ear. I definitely didn't expect to feel this messy going in. The stones look like diamonds framing the shells. Yay! I did it! All that effort finally paid off! Now I want them to look even more realistic, so I'm moving on to another technique. I'm covering the foam with tissue paper and plaster. This time I'm using 2 brushes in different sizes to get all those details just right. Here I'm adding extra texture to the wall so everything blends together and truly looks like one solid wall. Ta-da! And the magic happens the next day. As I got so tired of living in a snow globe made of white dust, I started to scrape the floor. Then I vacuumed it, even though the dust clearly refused to move out. I went in with a wet sponge and surprised, it actually worked. Honestly, I wish I had skipped the first 2 steps, but at least I gained another hard-earned DIY life lesson. The very next day, my first stop was the local hardware store on my way to the studio. I felt like an overexcited kid who wants to touch absolutely everything. Paints, tiny metal pieces, brushes, spatulas, pure temptation everywhere. I had to remind myself why I was there and stay focused. I needed extra plaster and decorative foam lath. Then I saw them. I took 3 little babies back to my studio. Since I wanted to hide those not so pretty edges of the niche, the only solution was to finish them off with pre-cut laths. So I got to work spreading plaster on the back sides of the laths and attaching them to the niche. Problem edges, make your makeover. If you want to say something, you can speak to my button. As you can see, there was still a gap waiting to be filled at the bottom of the niche. I drew a clean, proper line with my middle ruler and got straight to work on it. Measure, mark, and make it better. I'm really eager to finish this project because right after that, I'm jumping straight into making DIY boxes for the shelves. I want to organize and categorize all the materials I've collected so far. After all, a true DIY lover never has enough storage space. To keep the edges from looking too wide, I grabbed a narrow brush and spread some plaster over the foam as well. Just a little extra touch to make everything blend in nicely. If I had tried to explain this idea to a craftsman, we probably would have ended up in mutual confusion while I attempted to describe the thing in my head. He might have politely refused once he realized the effort involved. Luckily, I was raised as a DIYer, so I grabbed my tools, added a dose of enthusiasm, and built my own solution. If this video inspired you or gave you a little motivation, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment and share a photo of your creation on my Instagram. It would make me so happy to feature your work on my profile and celebrate your creativity together.